just talking to a lot of people about college football news and trying to get the very latest on where we are with expansion. We were able to, I don't know if the word is fall into, but we just had a great conversation with a well-placed source who says the college football playoff very likely will be changing in 2024. And while I think we all knew that, I think one of the big stories here is that there is a very, very strong movement amongst the Power Four conferences to eliminate the auto qualifiers. And this is an obvious step, but now we see these Power Four conferences leveraging their strength. And what they're trying to do is eliminate this qualifier of the top 6 conference champions and then the 6 highest rated teams after that. And I think what you are starting to see very clearly is that these P4 conferences want to eliminate that because it gives conferences like, I don't know, the Big Ten, who just added Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA, 4 teams that should, on the annum, compete for a spot in the college football playoff. If the Big Ten's getting 4 of 12, you can imagine the SEC, they're going to want at least 4 of 12. That's 8. And then what do you say to the Big 12, who just expanded as well and added a real volume, including teams like Utah, who has back-to-back Pac-12 champions and back-to-back Rose Bowl appearances? I mean, you're looking at a situation where G5s could be pushed out of this altogether. Now, obviously, this is going to have to go through committee at the college football playoff because what you have to understand is the selection committee isn't the one that's going to make this decision. There are 2 committees below them, including athletic directors, including managers, that are very well represented amongst G5 schools. So this is going to be a battle, and I think we have less than 10 months to make this decision, Jake, but I am not at all surprised to see the remaining Power 4 conferences making a move to ensure their spots at the table.
Absolutely, and I think it's as usual a power struggle. It's as usual a conversation in college athletics, but specifically college football, where you have the haves trying to continue to be haves and the have-nots trying to figure out how they can get a big boy seat at the table. And I think that's unfortunately the structure and the way things work. I think that, you know, the college football playoff to this point has been really enjoyable as a fan. You know, it's been something that I think we all love talking about and we all love experiencing, and we love the way, you know, the bowl games kind of feed into the college football playoff and the whole thing. But ultimately, this is the big boys trying to continue to be the big boys and ensure their success as deep into the season as possible. And when, you know, we boil this down and we really look at, well, why does it matter so much to them? Yeah, sure, you want to win championships and you want to have as much success as possible, but let's not make any mistake about this. This is a money play. This is these schools saying, hey, we have a lot of success on a consistent basis, and we want to make sure that we're in a strong position to continue to do that because we know that every single year we go to the college football playoff and every single year that Nick Saban and Kirby Smart or Nick Saban and Ryan Day or whoever it might be, you know, compete for the championship of college football, you're getting paid, and you're getting paid a lot of money. And, you know, the more money you can get paid, the longer your conference is going to survive. And I think there's this sense now that the Pac-12 thing has happened and, you know, we've gone through that process. We watched that conference die. You know, there's, to me, a sense of this like, hey, we need to do everything we can to build as strong a foundation as we can, even if we're Alabama and Georgia, even if we're Ohio State and Michigan, even if we're TCU and still in the Big 12, Texas, right? Even if you're these nameplate teams, you still have to do everything you can do to grab the power and keep the control. So to me, this was an inevitable thing that was, you know, going to take place. But I just think that the Pac-12 collapsing and the Pac-12 going through what they went through really was the catalyst to kind of light the fire for this conversation and get it going. And honestly, if I'm the Mountain West right now, if I'm the San Diego States of the world, if I'm any Group of 5 football team that has any aspirations of getting deep into the college football playoff, this is a massive, massive conversation that I don't know that I want the big boys to be able to execute on.
Well, one of the names that I think is really critical is a guy we talked to at Big 12 Football Media Days, and that's Terry Mohajir, the athletic director at UCF, who is on the athletic director advisory group. Now, he's coming from a G5 situation into a P5 situation, and if you look at the Houstons of the world, the Cincinnatis of the world, the UCFs, the BYUs, like you're taking G5s in an independent and making them P5s. That gives the G5s less influence. And now you're giving a conference like the Big Ten far more influence by adding these 4 Pac-12 schools. And you look at the influence that the SEC already has. I mean, this is a real tipping point. And by the way, what else does this point to? This points to the ACC and expansion, because you're starting to understand that obviously the Big Ten grew exponentially in influence here, I think, because they are going to have quite a bit more firepower in 2024 in football.
Sure.
That is without a doubt. And you look at this news today that USC hired Jennifer Cohen from Washington, which I think is a coup. Jennifer Cohen, the first ever female athletic director in the history of USC, coming from Washington to USC. That's a huge move for USC. She is a phenomenal athletic director. I mean, you're seeing the Big Ten coming to life right before your eyes. And now you're in this position where all of these P5s, now P4s, they're really this a power grab. That's exactly what this is. But one of the interesting conversations, and I think one that is incredibly important to have, is should all P4s and G5s play 9 conference games? Because we've been talking about this for, I feel like, months now.
Right.
At some point, you're going to have to play 10 conference games. If every major conference goes to 20 teams, which within a decade probably happens, if not sooner. But right now, you have the opportunity, if you are a G5 administrator, you have the opportunity to make it more difficult for the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC, to just power grab those spots by making them play more interconference games. Mm-hmm. In the SEC, they play 8 games in conference. That's it. And while those are usually 4, 5 really difficult games, you look at the Pac-12 this year, they're going to feast on each other, right? You look at the Big Ten, for instance. They've got 2 spots locked up in the college football playoff. That's done. Michigan and Ohio State, they're in. There's no doubt about that. You look at the SEC, they have 2 spots locked up in the college football playoff. They're in. There's no doubt about that. The question is, where are the upsets going to be, and who, on some way, shape, or form, is going to survive the Pac-12 schedule to put themselves in a position to compete with the SEC, who plays 8 games. That's a huge part of this. Because if you force these P4 conferences to play a minimum of 9 conference games, that's a lot more wear and tear. And I know it seems like just 1 or 2 more games, what's the big deal? But when you're talking about Georgia, Alabama, Lane Train, Clemson, Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, SC, like you're talking about physical, quality, powerful athletes running into each other 2 more weeks a year.
Yeah.
And remember, the college football playoff, when it expands to 12, is going to start in December. So there is no rest for the weary. Playing 9 conference games, and eventually, I think, in my opinion, it's going to be 10. But I was told today by sources that the G5 is one of the bargaining chips they will absolutely use as this minimum bar for conference games to make it far more difficult on the P4s to suck up all of those spots. And I think that's going to be very interesting. If you eliminate the auto qualifier, that 6 auto qualifier,
yeah,
and you just go the top 12 teams, the Cinderella story is dead. I think it is very, very difficult to expect the best of the best G5 teams. And if you go back to the BCS era, I mean, go with Boise State, obviously, or Utah, back the original BCS buster. How likely are those stories now? If you eliminate the auto qualifier, Jake, I think the Cinderella dies.
Yeah, and I think that, the tough part is just access. I look at your point about, UCF or, any of these, group of 5 schools that are now P5 or P4 programs. And I look at that and I say, yeah, that's why everyone wants to be a P5 or a P4. That's why they want to be in a Power 4 conference, because they understand that gives them access. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to be good, but at least you have access. And I think that, looking at this whole situation, I also think this impacts NIL and recruiting on a massive level. This is a situation now where if this goes through and this is what we're looking at, again, top 12 teams, that's pretty cut and dry. That's black and white. You're either in or you're out. It's that simple. And I think that, the tough part with that is it just encourages, all the issues we always hear about in recruiting, and NIL is a dirty business. And you know what I mean? It just emphasizes the fact that we're just going to prioritize who wins the most. We don't care how you get your guys. We don't care, I just think it emphasizes that part of it, because ultimately to win, you got to recruit, and to recruit, you got to have money, right? And to have money, you got to win. And so it's this vicious cycle where if you don't win, you don't have money and you can't recruit. And if you don't recruit, you can't win. So that's why I say I agree. I do think it kills the Cinderella story. I do think it makes it a lot more difficult. But that's precisely what we do in basketball too. And I know it's two different sports, two different setups, two different landscapes. It really is apples to oranges.
Oh,
but
yeah.
In this sense, I do think we're trying to bring oranges and apples closer to apples and apples. We just want the 12 best teams to get in, and it is what it is.
But is that what we as college football fans want? I think in the NFL, we want the best teams in the playoffs, no question about it.
Well, and what's the difference? And I think that's a great point. What's the difference between the NFL and college football?
There is no auto qualifier.
There's no auto qualifier, but at the same time, everyone's got equal access. It's a choice at the top of the food chain of every organization in the NFL as to whether they want to compete or not. Are you willing to put the money in to develop your guys and do everything you need to do at the professional level to be a good organization? You either are doing that or you're not. But the point is not who's doing it and who's not. The point is everyone has the opportunity. The difference at the college level is not everybody has that opportunity.
Should we save a spot in the college football playoff for the very best, non-P4 team? Should we say, whether you want to call it group of 5, group of 6, whatever you want to call it now?
Yeah.
Should there be one automatic spot for the best Fresno State, for the best whoever that you think there should be?
I think there should be, because I just think that that's the magic of college athletics. I'm not saying that we need to have Cinderella story after Cinderella story, and that's all I care about. But I do think that if you said, hey, some group of 5 school, whatever school, I don't even care what the name is, but just some lower tier school provides you the David versus Goliath matchup, and it comes down to the final possession. I mean, that's where, legends are made. That's where the great story comes from. I will admit, I do get burned out on Kirby versus Nick every year. I do get burned out on, Ryan Day and who. It's those 3 guys and everybody else. And TCU happens once every 5 years.
But I think the way that these conference realignments, the restructuring, the shuffling of the deck in college football, the Big Ten is far more compelling today than it's been at any time in the last 5 years.
1,000%.
You add, especially once we get to a year from now. Mm-hmm. I think there is a realistic opportunity for the Big Ten to have 4 or 5 teams a year in the college football playoff. If we eliminate, the auto qualifiers.
Yeah.
I think that's a realistic possibility. I don't know that that's a good outcome for college football. And I tend to believe that Cinderella belongs in March. That is her month to bloom. Go get it. I love San Diego State. I love Florida Atlantic. Those were great stories. College football is different. And one of the things I love about college football in the NFL, I think it's all professional football. You win or you're out. And I think that one of the things in the SEC and the Pac-12 is very much like this. You win your games or you're not going to the postseason of note. You're going to the pool and weed eater butthole vacuum bowl. It just doesn't matter.
Because it's garbage.
It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things I really loved about North Carolina and basketball last year, we're not going to the NIT. We're not going to the nobody cares basketball tournament.
Yeah.
Because we're North Carolina. If you are Michigan, Ohio State, SC, Oregon, Washington, if you're Clemson and Florida State, if you are Georgia and Alabama, if you're not going to the college football playoff, stay your ass at home.
Yeah.
Right? That's the logic that I have always operated with. I think bowl games, Capital One Bowl Week, and the month of December, those are for Poughkeepsie State. Those are for Jenny's Culinary School.
Game day is for highlighting the school we've never heard of.
Go get it, man. You guys want to play in a bowl? Go to the Poinsettia Bowl. Congratulations. At least just know that if you go to the Holiday Bowl, you might get sued. Anyway, the point is...
See what he did there. It's the Holiday Bowl, and it's the Pac-12.
UCLA. My point is, I think I like the idea of raising the stakes.
Right.
I truly do. I don't believe in underdogs or Cinderella stories in college football.
But I think what's tough is that it's like, I don't even disagree. In college football, you have to win to be a thing. You do.
You do.
And you have to win at a really high level. And I think, again, it comes down, again, I feel like this is a daily thing on the show. It's philosophical because some people will tell you, hey, there should be a slot for an underdog to earn their way in to get that opportunity. Because, again, we're not talking about who wins the most. We're talking about opportunity, who has access and who does not. And, frankly, one level deeper, who deserves access.
Yes.
Because the Cinderella story thing is basically a free pass. You're not in a Power 4 school or a Power 4 conference, right? You're at a school that's not a Power 4 school. But, hey, here's your get-out-of-jail-free card to get into the college football playoff and at least play a game, which obviously has massive financial implications for whoever that one school might be. So on the business side of it, I don't think it really hurts anybody. On the at the Power 4 level business side of it, when I look at the slate, if it was, let's say it was 11 Power 4 schools and one G5, whoever draws that G5, like let's say they do, 1 seed versus 12 in that case, that's obviously an auto win, take a week off for Saban or Kirby or Ryan Day or whoever the hell's got the number 1 seed.
And I think there are some parts of this current system that's on paper that you could keep. Yeah, I think it's interesting you bring up the 112.
Yeah.
I think the top 4 automatically get that bye week.
Yeah.
I don't think the top 4 teams should not be playing until the New Year's Six Bowls, period. I think you've earned that. And again, I go back to the NFL, and I see a lot of people commenting that the NFL has auto bids. When I say they don't have auto bids, you win the most games, you get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's not the case in college football. That is not the case in college football.
Right. And I think that pisses people off every year.
And what I'm saying is win your games in the NFL, win more games than everybody else, win more games. If you're not going to win the division, hey, you've got to win more games than the other. Like, you win games in the NFL, and you're pretty well on your way.
Yeah.
In college football, it doesn't matter. If you are not a blue blood, like the Alabama argument last year.
Facts.
Alabama should have been in. They were one of the better teams, but guess what? Everybody wanted them out, and they lost 2 games. And it's not even about winning in college football. Do you want Alabama in? Because I truly believe the College Football Playoff Committee is all about the best TV matchup. That's just my opinion.
Dude.
And I think the committee last year believed that people were burnt out on Alabama. And I think TCU was a great story. But why is TCU in? They didn't win their conference championship. Like, that's what college football is about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about win the most games and you're in.
Yeah.
Because you lost your conference championship game and you still got in. So in the NFL, you win games, you're in. Period.
Yeah.
There's no committee that decides.
Well, and I think that's the hard part about college is like, hey, if we go to whoever wins the most is in, that takes away. In football specifically, that takes away that TCU Cinderella story.
I agree.
That's great for TV, and I couldn't agree more. I do think the committee prioritizes TV, as they should, by the way. The committee is not there to appease, what Nick Saban thinks the matchup should be. The committee is there to make money, man. I've always said that. Hey, man, their job that they're tasked with is put together a college football playoff that's compelling. That's what they're there to do. So to me, I do think I've always thought, hey, it should be about winning and not about politics. And the unfortunate side effect of making it about winning is, that Cinderella football story is not going to be there.
Yeah.
And the Cinderella story, honestly, is going to exist only in the P4 conferences. Like, there will be
Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
A Northwest,
yes.
well, Northwestern,
But think about the teams that are low right now. Like, if Wisconsin finds their way, Nebraska,
Georgia Tech.
a Georgia Tech.
But see, I consider Nebraska to be an old world blue blood. I think the Cinderellas would absolutely be. Vanderbilt's a great example of that. Indiana football, Illinois football, Northwestern football. Like, you never hear from them. You never hear from those schools in football. Those are Cinderella stories, right? Like Florida State or Miami or Florida or Georgia Tech would somewhat be. I think, would Virginia or Virginia Tech be a Cinderella story? At this point, they probably would.
We built this program on NIL.
Duke football would be a Cinderella story. Even though Duke is one of the biggest brands in all of college athletics, I think Duke would be. But I also think there's something to be said for Alabama versus Ohio State or Georgia versus USC in the college football playoff championship game.
Yeah.
I'm here for big brands. And I know that there's a lot of people in a lot of corners of this country who like small markets, and I think there's a place for that. The hardest part for me is when you get something like small market A versus like Florida Atlantic versus San Diego State. Like those kind of matchups are not compelling. They're not exciting. Kansas versus Carolina is what we are here for.
Yeah, and then we were all surprised when that matchup didn't do TV numbers. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, how?"
If you're going to put a college football game on TV that's for the championship of college football, I need 8 million viewers.
Yeah.
And to do that, it's got to be the Notre Dames. It's got to be the Ohio States. Like you're going to hear from Kurt Schultz in a while, the embarrassing president in Washington State who's going to say, Pullman's not a big TV market. We're a victim of. Nobody wants to see Washington State play for the college football playoff.
Yeah, and I just think that the hard part is too, like, I think, like, we're gonna get some matchups. Again, when this happens, because I don't think it's really if, but when this happens, you're gonna get some early playoff matchups that are big matchups. Like people are gonna lose games and they're gonna go home, and you're gonna be like, wow, like, dude, like Ohio State lost here, Alabama lost there, or, maybe, I doubt Georgia loses, but Georgia lost to, like, you're going to get some of that some years. And I think that's also good for TV. I think big losses, upsets, are what the committee's trying to do as well.
But look, if you're just tuning in, there are big changes coming to the college football playoff in 2024. And I think the most fascinating part of this story is the battle of the G5s who are on the manager committee and who are on the athletic director committee. I think it is going to be fascinating. There are a ton of G5 voices that have legitimate sway in the future of the college football playoff. And I am genuinely excited to see the battle and the head-to-head between the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Big 12 against the G5s, because it's very clear these P4 conferences want the 1 through 12. The top 12 teams in the college football playoff ranking get into the college football playoff. End of story. I think there's no doubt, and I understand it. It's a power grab. But you can't tell me that any of those P4 conferences want to be mandated 9 or 10 conference games. And I think it's a fascinating push and pull, and I am here for it. All right, more of you, less of us here on the Monty Show. Before we get your comments in here, crack a Bucked Up with us. Bucked Up Energy, the energy provider of the Monty Show. I've got my buckshot right here. I'll tell you, I played really crappy golf over the weekend. The buckshot doesn't make you drive it more straight off the tee, but it does enlighten you in your level of pissed offness. It gives you a much more clearer mind that allows you to drop more creative F-bombs when you slice that ball into the pond at Canyons Golf Course. So you think more clearly.
Gotta be fucking kidding me.
So you have a wider dichotomy of vocabulary. And so what I'm trying to get across here is, no matter who you are and what you're doing, if you want to be able to curse in more diverse terms, drink a buckshot. Or if you're trying to get a pivot table, done.
The
Or
motherfucking,
what I'm trying to say is,
fucking.
you know, put the buckshot in the refrigerator. It's better cold. They're amazing. It's 200 milligrams of caffeine, and it absolutely gives you a mental lift. One of the things I love it for, and this is not on the label, and I'm sure it's not sanctioned by the company, but if you have a bit of a headache, I've had a headache all day. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to pop this buckshot. 20 minutes from now, it'll be gone, because it just helps you mentally. Right? So let me just,
So I said, yeah.
Yeah, dude, the whole thing.
boom, gone, done. Love it. And I just am a huge fan of it because it doesn't give you the jitters. You know, the worst thing is when you pop caffeine. No, it doesn't give you that. It does not give you that. It's a nice, level, clean, long-lasting energy boost. From Bucked Up, buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty20 to get 20% off at checkout. In the description below, get a sampler pack of their brand new protein bar. And you guys know on this show I hate protein bars. The Buck Bar, it's decadent. It's a dessert, man. I love it. Whey protein isolate, the best proteins, the best ingredients. Buckedup.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Big shout out to our guy Brandon Butler, who gifted 10 memberships.
Let's go, baby.
Fantastic start to the show. The only thing better would be if all 900 of you watching the show hit the like button right now. That would be awesome here on the Monty Show.
Facts.
Give us a thumbs up, hit the like button, and if you are not a subscriber, please do so. As almost though it was just yesterday, we crossed the 23,000 subscriber mark, and we are just 340 away from 24,000.
Let's go.
So great job. In just about a week's time, we've picked up almost 700 subs. So if you're not a subscriber on the channel, please help us out. Give us a subscribe. Really helps the channel grow. Give us a like. That helps as well. Who's got dibs on the first comment today? Jay Sleep gives us $6 to say, Big Ten, SEC, P4 major networks, best be careful they don't get anti-competitive lawsuits placed on that ass. Well, the problem is that you can't give them an anti-competitive lawsuit because they have antitrust status in their nonprofits. So they have a system in place. It is on paper. It is agreed to by all members of the NCAA, which is why the NCAA needs to go away. So you're not going to get an anti-competitive lawsuit. When you are a member of the NCAA, one of the first things you do is agree to abide by the policies and the rules and regulations of the NCAA, which I guarantee you, and I probably shouldn't be guaranteeing things I don't know for a fact, but I am almost a hundo P that there is a hold harmless and a non-litigation clause in there. So you're not going to see, NCAA members suing the NCAA. It would be counterproductive. So I don't know about that, but I think there is no question that there has got to be a solution for the G5s. There has to be. In the spirit of this comment from Jay Sleep, I mean, I think you have to have good stories in college football. And I think there are all good stories, all these kids, the Carson Beck being the starting quarterback at Georgia, like you could point to 1,001 of them. But what I'm telling you is the G5 going up, the behemoth going up against Michigan. That's what you want. You want the, SMU is a frequent target of this show. SMU's President Turner is on the board of managers for the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Do you think SMU is not going to fight tooth and nail even though their football team is ridiculously bad? Do you think they're not going to fight tooth and nail for a seat at the table should they ever decide to use their vast funding to actually win football games? Well, of course they are. Of course they are. No doubt. Lopes fan Gabe gives us $5. Lopes fan, how are you? Lopes up. Cinderella stories are for March Madness. Thank you. If a team can't make the top 12 in the college football playoff, there's no way they are a top 5, let alone the best. I think that's the argument right there, isn't it? Because if you're Boise State, if you're Cincinnati under Luke Fickell, who went to the college football playoff and got boat raced.
On to Cincinnati.
Right? But if you're any of these G5 teams that the South Floridas of the world claiming
Yeah.
championships, or
Yeah.
you believe that you belong there. But do you belong there? Because when is the last time? And I mean, sure, you could bring up Appy State, Michigan. When's the last time a true small school went into a big house and won a game of consequence? When's the last time a small school went into a big house in November and won a game of consequence? It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, and everybody points to Tulane, USC. USC was checked out of that game. With all due respect to Tulane, and I love Tulane, that's a bowl game that nobody at USC wanted to be part of.
Yeah.
If that's the college football playoff, and you're playing a play-in, essentially a play-in game, if you're one of the first series of playoff games in December looking for a spot in the New Year's Six Bowl, okay. And Tulane goes in and beats SC at the Coliseum, okay, now we've got something to talk about. The problem is that's never fucking happening.
Yeah.
You're not going into the Coliseum in a playoff game, Tulane, and beating USC. You're not doing that. Because at that point, they're one of the top 12 teams in the country, and they're awfully good. Because they're always going to have a quarterback. They're always going to have a head coach. My God, USC hired Jennifer Cohen from Washington today in nothing short of a robbery.
I'm for real.
How on earth did USC get over on the Pac-12, and now they've gotten over on Washington?
I'm for real.
Twice they gutted your conference, and now they stole one of the best athletic directors in the country.
Yep.
USC is going to USC. And for everybody out there who's like, oh, stop stroking the men of Troy, I'm going to sit here and stroke the men of Troy because I'm telling you, they're always a threat.
You gotta get stroked.
Always a threat, man. USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA. I'm hesitant to say UCLA because Chip Kelly's so overrated, but they're always going to be in the conversation in football.
Yeah. 100%.
They always are.
Yeah. Even when they suck, they are.
Michigan and Ohio State are always going to be there. My belief is add Wisconsin to that list now. Add Nebraska in the Big Ten in the big picture, and now you're looking at not 4 new. You're looking at 6 new contenders for the college football playoff out of the Big Ten.
Ah.
God damn.
Yeah, dude.
Now
Yeah.
you tell me the Big Ten doesn't want to eliminate the auto qualifiers. Come on, yeah they do. Of course they do. And
Yeah.
they should.
Yeah.
And they should. Anyway, I know I'm a big market
The
guy.
longevity of your conference is decided on the football field, and it's that simple.
I am a big market guy, and I know it pisses people off, and I'm not trying to stir the pot, and I'm truly not. And again, I have mad respect for guys like Kyle Whittingham at Utah, who was the original BCS buster, and hey, I love that. There's a reason the BCS isn't here anymore.
Yeah.
We're in a different time now, and I just don't see that when we're so competitive for every viewer in television, and really television's going away because streaming is here. When we're trying to get every sports fan to put on our app to watch our game, man, you can't afford the SMUs of the world creeping in, the UTSAs of the world creeping in.
But what do all those schools have in common, though, bro? What do all those schools have in common? They don't make money. It's that simple.
Not on the level of the P4s, they don't.
Yeah, well, and that's all that matters. We're not talking about making money on the level of a G5 or, we're not talking about any of that. It's very simple to me. Like, again, dude, these schools want the power because what does, if you go deeper, what does having 3, 4, hell, even 5 in the college football playoff mean for your conference?
Nothing.
Oh, I think it means everything.
Not if you don't win.
Oh,
wait, say that again?
If the Big Ten's got 5 teams in the college football playoff,
okay,
if the
right.
SEC's got 4 or 5 teams in the college football playoff, those schools are getting paid, which means your conference is going to be healthier, which means the relationship with your TV partners is going to be better, which means the first conference that gets to 20 and inevitably 25 and so on and so forth, your conference's fate is decided on the football field,
But I also, to that point, because if you have 12 and the top 12 in the country are 4 from the Big Ten, and 4 from the SEC and 3 from the Big 12. I mean, you see where I'm going here?
And
You're getting Dabo. What am I gonna say? We're gonna go
God's name.
We're gonna go to 16 because Jesus is a Notre Dame fan.
And
So
that's how I look at it.
we're going to 16.
Yeah.
That is the future. I love the idea of 12, and I know the student athletes cannot be playing.
They
football.
can't travel across the country, and they can't play more football.
We cannot be playing more football into February. Okay, we have exams to pass. Well, no.
Don't lie to me.
Yeah, we don't. We don't.
Yeah, they're paying somebody to do that, okay?
We can start the college football playoff in the last week, call it the Turkey Bowl. I don't give a damn. We'll play it in the last week of November, and we'll start earlier in December, and the kids will just keep rolling.
We're getting somewhere.
And the ones who can't handle it will get eliminated.
Again,
and
haves and have-nots.
And then Alabama will win again. It just is. That's you're good enough or you're not.
Yep.
Is my point. We're going to 16. And again, within a decade, I like the guys I was talking to about this thing today said it's a cool story to have the G5 involved, but they don't make money.
No.
And they don't make money. I think that's an absolutely
all that we're talking about here.
That's an absolutely great point. Big shout out to our guy Aaron Wilson. He gave a membership today.
Let's go, baby.
11 new members on the show today. Appreciate all of you guys. We could not do this show without you. Thank you very much. Which is why we want to give you tickets to see the original BCS Buster. I guess that's kind of a coincidence. Prime's coming to Salt Lake City to see Kyle Whittingham and the Utah Utes. Colorado and Utah. A rivalry reborn. And a lot of people don't understand that Colorado and Utah are a rivalry. November 25th at Rice-Eccles Stadium. We are giving you a pair of tickets to go to that game. All you have to do is go to Super Chicks in Ogden on Riverdale Road or down in St. George. And my goodness, if you're in St. George, please be careful. All the water, all the flash flooding from Hurricane California and Mexico thing. Please be cool down there. I know there's a lot of water there. I know you guys are going through it, so we appreciate all of our listeners in Arizona, Southern California, my God, Las Vegas, Nevada, Reno. Shout out to everybody in Reno. Really good to have you guys on the show. I hope we can be an escape for you today because I know through California, Nevada, Arizona, parts of Utah, there is just water everywhere. So really be cool. I hope you guys are all staying safe and dry. And enjoy a Super Chick sandwich today on Riverdale Road in Ogden, down in the GC. All you have to do is go in, take a picture, and be creative. Because last time we used Super Chicks, Super Chicks wanted to be involved to give away tickets to BYU's first home game in the Big 12. Big deal, right? Everybody was excited about it. Like, so many people went into Super Chicks. The winner spelled out the final score in French fries like it was amazing. You're going to have to step your game up this time.
That's right.
Like, and I will say, when we were at Super Chicks this weekend, I had the cordon bleu.
And it looked amazing.
It was amazing. Somebody here wanted an avocado sandwich.
It's a bacavo.
So,
get the nomenclature right.
But it's a great experience because the food's always fresh. The vegetables are chopped every day in-house. The fries are chopped every day. That beautiful breaded chicken breast.
Yes.
It's a full breast that's never frozen. Super Chicks on Riverdale Road in Ogden. We're down in St. George. Just tag us in a picture. We're happy to hook you guys up. We'll give those tickets away on Friday.
Let's go, baby.
Utah hosting Colorado on November 25th. All right, back to your thoughts on the show as we talk about this college football playoff change. OG Gary gives us $5. Won't be surprised to see a future where we have 4 conference champs get top 4 with a bye, runner-ups get next 4, and third-place teams get the remaining 4. I don't think you can just say if you're not in, if you're not in the P.
It's too structured, dude.
Yeah, if you're not in the P4, you can't get in.
What makes good TV? Drama. How do we create drama? We create uncertainty and gray area. Okay, great. So, top 4 conference champions, auto bid, bye week 1. Everybody else, college football playoff committee is deciding. That's it. That's it.
And drama in sports is created on the field or the court. And in football, it's created on the field. You want LSU going for the 2-point conversion to beat Alabama? That's drama. I want it. That's drama, and I want it too. Jay Sleep for $5 will tickle me pink. Learn something new every day. Touche, salesman. Thank you. Tickle Me Pink was talking about, G5 suing or it's all good. Appreciate that. Jay Sleep. Sammy Hammond for $5. Sammy, nice to meet you. I believe this is your first super chat. Only the conference champions should go to the playoff. This simplifies everything and makes conferences smaller. Well, that does shrink conferences. But now I think we're past that.
Yeah.
We're past. We're at 18 now.
Yeah.
We're going to 20.
Yeah.
So somebody forgot to tell the Big Ten that only conference champions were going.
Yeah.
So good luck with that, right? Connor Cole for $5. Monty, I'm looking for a beginner set of clubs. Don't want to spend an arm and a leg. Got any recommendations? PXG, buddy. PXG has a price point for everybody. And I would tell you that depending on where you are, and Connor, if you want to DM me, I can hook you up with a PXG fitter. They're great. They're great dudes to do business
fitting,
with.
Is worth it. I got fit. I love my clubs. I decided to go kind of nicer end club, mid-level bag kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, they have it's pointless. A lot of people tell you, oh, just get them off Amazon, go to store, like just get a random. It's pointless because you're gonna learn on those clubs, and then you're gonna be like, all right, cool, I'm good enough on these clubs. Now I can go get fit, and then you go and get fit, and it's like, hey, it's a totally different experience, and you feel lost. It's just silly. And
I'll tell you, Jake got fit by Garrett from PXG, our PXG rep down in Provo, Utah.
Yeah.
I did not get fitted. I bought my clubs on the PXG website.
And you bought really nice clubs.
I have great clubs.
Yeah.
They're just not the right clubs for me. I bought graphite shafts. There's too much flex in that shaft. I need a much stiffer shaft on my driver and my woods.
Yeah.
There's just things you need to know to hit the golf ball well. Get fit, you guys. And if you want recommendations or you want me to connect you with people, DM me on Twitter or Instagram, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show. And listen, Connor, PXG's got a solution for you, and they're going to take care of you. There's no doubt about it. And if you don't believe me, go to the PXG website and look for your nearest PXG store, because they have these beautiful, just absolute palaces of stores where you can make appointments to get fit and try their clubs. It's worth it. And I would remind you, the only place you can get PXG clubs is from PXG. So you're not walking into, retailers just picking up stock clubs off the rack. Yeah. Because those aren't going to work for you. Yeah. But Connor, DM me, man. I'm happy to help you out.
And no, PXG is not a sponsor for us, but we play PXG.
Yeah, they don't advertise on the show. We don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. PXG is not an advertiser of ours. I just love their stuff. Excuse me, Hellbilly for $5. Teams with 3 conference losses shouldn't be in the playoffs. Now this is a conversation.
This is a conversation.
Yeah. This is a conversation. That would look as bad as a 6-6 team getting bowl bids. I love this idea.
Yeah.
This is the conversation about a 2-loss Alabama.
Yeah.
This is why you have to play 9 or 10 conference games. And this is the weapon that G5 teams can use to push down on the P4 and say you're not going to have all the power. You're not going to eliminate a seat at the table for the G5. You're not doing that.
Yeah.
Top 12 teams, okay, we can do that. You guys got to play 10 games. Period. You get 2 non-cons, and what does that mean? This is the conversation that we had about Notre Dame and BYU, 3-4 years ago?
Yep.
Every P5 team has to play P5 teams.
Yeah, I mean, you got to unify it. I mean, you can't have, yeah.
But no more, hey, Wyoming's or Waxahachie Technical Ambulance Tire Changing Center football team.
Yeah, Western Kentucky.
No more of that. You're going to play 12 P5 teams. If you're a P5 member or a P4 member now, you're going to play 12 P4 teams. And you're going to play 10 conference games.
Yeah.
Because what does that do? It makes the likelihood of an undefeated Georgia much, much less. It makes the cupcake schedule for Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn
Middle
State.
Tennessee,
much,
week 1
less.
For Alabama.
It makes Alabama play a Utah-Florida type game.
Alabama versus Chattanooga November 18th at 10 a.m.
Can't have it.
Can't do it, dude.
Because that's a bye week. And you're looking at, remember what you're looking at with Alabama right now. You're looking at an Alabama team that's got a quarterback competition happening. You have a legit, and I think it's probably over, but you have a quarterback competition. You need that quarterback to be P5 ready in week 1 because you're playing a P5 team, not Middle Tennessee State and not Chattanooga in the middle of the season, so that you essentially get 3 bye weeks.
Yeah.
2 scrimmages and an off week.
Yeah.
That's not P5 football. But you look at Ohio State's schedule because the conference is so crappy. Ohio State essentially has 2 games this year. Georgia essentially has 2 games this year.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You can't allow P5 teams to have a free run to the college football playoff.
That's what I say. I think you can unify things. I mean, I completely agree with the 10 conference game setup. I think that, again, take nothing away from guys like Nick Saban. Obviously, they're, really good at what they do, and they're able to develop their program at a higher level than other coaches. But I also think that unifying is kind of that thing where it's like, all right, G5 presidents sitting at the table here. This is what we're willing to do to throw you a bone, in essence. We're willing to play 10 conference games, and I don't want to hear you crying when you only won 7 games. Right? I mean, that's essentially what the big boys are eventually going to have to do.
I agree.
And this is why I say they're going to push that off as long as possible. They're going to say, no, not this year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year, bud. Maybe next year. And eventually they're going to have to do it. But again, why? What is the motivation here? To get to the college football championship game and the playoff, generally speaking, every single year, as long as they can do that, so they can make the money. Like, again, last week and the last several weeks, what have we talked about with Stanford? $1 billion in endowment for athletics. You think that Alabama or Georgia or Clemson or Michigan or Ohio State or any of these teams that are constantly in the playoff don't want to have $1 billion or more sitting on the rack for a rainy day? Like, of course they do. These guys aren't stupid. And that's why I think we get statements out of Greg Sankey saying things like, oh, yeah, like power flexing. We don't need that 4th time zone. We're the best. We don't need that.
Yeah.
He's sending a message. And that's why I think the big boys.
It's about sending a message.
It's not about the money for the SEC. It's about keeping powers. It's control.